You're listening to the Marne Report.
Hi, Fort Stewart, Hunter Army Airfield. Kelsey here, back with another edition of the Marne Report podcast. Today I'm joined by our special guest, Beau Bradley, Installation Emergency Manager with DPTMS, and Jim Krupp, Army Community Service Specialist Manager. We are currently in the middle of hurricane season, and today we are going to discuss how September is National Preparedness Month. Thank you guys so much for joining me. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Fired up. Let's get it on.
Awesome. So I know you guys have been here before, but for our audience out there, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself?
Well, thanks, Kelsey. I really appreciate the time. My name is Beau Bradley. I am the Installation Emergency Manager, and I'm just trying to communicate more effectively to our soldiers, families, and our spouses using the public affairs platforms.
All right, and good morning, and thank you for having me over here again. My name is Jim Krupp. I work for Army Community Service, run a number of different programs that are all focused on family and soldier readiness and preparedness, which is a great segue into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, of course. As I said, September is National Preparedness Month. For those that don't know, what exactly does that mean?
So National Preparedness Month came about in 2004, and it is a program designed for our families, our spouses, and even our children to be better prepared for crisis, emergencies, and even national disasters.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have a number of things that happen here at Fort Stewart in this area, whether it be, natural weather emergencies, active shooter, things that happen within our community, and ensuring that soldiers, families, our civilians, children, everybody that works in this community are prepared, aware and prepared and what they need to do in an event of an emergency.
Thank you. I know we mentioned before, we talked a little bit about it, but there is a theme for this year. What exactly is it?
So I'm glad that you mentioned that because they just released a September theme yesterday. The 2025 theme is Preparedness Starts at Home. And what better way to discuss it with our families and soldiers on Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield using this platform.
Exactly. So why is this month important? I think we talked about it a little, but is there anything else you want to discuss?
Well, it's important because it is a National Preparedness Month, right? So this gives us that opportunity every year to kind of reset, get our minds focused on preparedness. We have our theme, Preparedness Starts at Home. And so what we want to do is, again, bring that awareness, talk about what we can do as families and soldiers, as family unit, what we can do at home to be prepared. So it's just an important time of the year. And we're in hurricane season now. And so we know from historic incidents, we're probably prone to have something else happen, so we need to be prepared.
So September also, from the National Hurricane Center, is the peak part of hurricane season, and it's just by coincidence that September is National Preparedness Month.
We keep talking about preparedness, but what does preparedness look like? What can people do?
When you say preparedness, right, you can think about pretty much any aspect of your life, being prepared for coming to do this podcast this morning, making sure we knew what we were talking about, having some comments prepared, making sure that you're prepared if you're going to do something at work, you have a presentation or class. We're talking about being prepared as an individual and as a family to respond to what we know could be a potential weather disaster. That's one of our prime risks here at Fort Stewart in this area in Savannah. And so when we talk about being prepared is what are you going to do as an individual, as a family, to respond to an emergency, and how are you going to make sure that you and your family are protected and able to get back to a state of readiness?
So I like to equate it with our soldiers and our families because our soldiers have to be prepared all the time. They got to shoot, move, communicate. And if we take just a little bit extra time to prepare our families, the soldier understands that the family is okay, and then they can concentrate on doing the business of the Army. So I think it's two-prong effort. Well, actually three-prong effort. Garrison, Third ID, and families. And once again, we try to level the communication to make everybody aware.
Is there anything people should buy or gather for those natural disasters?
So part of National Preparedness Month, you can go to a website, ready.gov, G-O-V, and they have checklists, they have talking points, but one of the things that I try to stress is build an emergency supply kit. You can grab a little backpack, you can grab a little plastic box, whatever, and put some stuff in there specific for your family, whether it's coloring book for children, maps of the surrounding area, snacks if you have little ones, maybe extra diapers, but have that emergency kit on hand. Put it in a closet, put it somewhere that you can know where it's at any given time in case there's an emergency, and you can take that kit and evacuate if needed, or you can take that kit somewhere that's safe.
Yeah, and just kind of tap in on that with what Beau was saying. From the ACS standpoint, we talk a lot about when we teach SFRG classes, that's your soldier family readiness groups. And during all that training, we stress for families to be prepared, especially for like a deployment or extended field times, making sure that you're prepared to take care of yourself while your spouse is going to be gone. Well, when it comes to preparedness for hurricane season, in addition to having, a go bag or being prepared, things like definitely snacks are important. Your medications, right? There may be an occasion where you're not going to be able to get your medications refilled. One of the other things we talk about is accountability, making sure that if you do evacuate and you have to go somewhere, you let your rear D chain of command know where you're at. And part of that plan, part of preparedness, is to know where you might go if we get evacuated. I think the last time we were evacuated was Hurricane Dorian.
2019.
And what we found out is a lot of the motels going up north or west of this area were getting booked. So you need to look a little bit further and think to yourself, where am I going to go? Where am I going to take my family so we can be safe until we can come back and get back to readiness here at Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield?
And I think one of the best pieces of advice when I moved down here was someone talking about filling up your gas tank before the storm hits, because a lot of those will go out and then they're not functional, and then if you don't have gas, you're not getting anywhere. And also keeping cash on hand, because
that's my biggest recommendation, cash money, because we have a tendency to lose power, and then the ATM machines go out. You won't be able to use your debit card, so if you can afford it, always have a little cash money in your wallet or purse. That way, when the stores start opening, you can use cash money.
Any other tips like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's great advice, filling up. But if you have to come back and forth to work, we know that we're doing that. Try to fill up every day. Don't let your gas tank get full, or empty rather, because, that may be a situation that you're going to run into. Cash money, your medications, that's all good advice. And again, making sure that you know who you're going to contact in your military unit, so you can make sure you let somebody know where you're at.
So on the ready.gov website, there's actually the checklists that everybody can use and review, but there's also a little page called Build a Kit, because my Go Kit might be different than Kelsey's. Could be I'm on medication, could be I need eye drops, could be whatever the case, but that way you can look at Build a Kit and then you can tailor it to your own family.
I feel like we haven't talked about one part. We all have animals and pets. How can people prepare for them?
So it goes along with that preparedness. When I said family preparedness, and I guess I was thinking in my mind that includes your animals, right? Because those are our fur babies, our fur animals. So that's a great point, though, is where can I go? Maybe if you're looking at making a hotel reservation, do they accept animals? And do you have the extra money if they need a deposit? Maybe you're going to go to a family member's house, but you absolutely have to make sure that the animals are taken care of if they require medication. Maybe you can take them to one of the facilities here. That'd be a great question to ask ahead of time, is what would happen if there's a hurricane and you all have to evacuate? And a lot of times they do have a plan for that as well. But great point would be to take your animals with you and prepare for that as well. Make sure they have food and their medications and they're comfortable.
So on our hurricane trifold that I pass out to units, directorates, there's actually a little website that you can go to about, off the top of my head, it has a little cartoon dog and it says Care for Fido. So it's a QR code, and that gives you the listing of all surrounding areas of the evacuation routes that accept pets.
Yeah, like if we had to leave, we got to make sure we take care of Rocky.
Yeah,
right. Got to have a place for him.
Rocky needs to be taken care of.
And his snacks.
Yes, he does. He definitely needs snacks. What are some common mistakes that you see people make, and how to avoid them?
So one of the common mistakes that I see more than anything else is lack of communication between the soldier and spouses. Spouses that really don't know the importance of emergencies, hurricane season, and being prepared. Maybe they wait to the last minute. Maybe maybe they don't have those hard conversations at home. But the other aspect that I see is our children, they're much more resilient than we give them credit for. And even in my toolkit at DPTMS, I have some children resources that the parents can explain. Why are we evacuating? Why do we have to prepare for this emergency? So don't be afraid to have those conversations with your children, because they really understand what's going on more than you think.
No, that's a really good point. I like that. Is there anything else you guys would like to add before we go?
We didn't talk about it, but I think it's important since we're talking about preparedness, is ADPAS. And when we talk about ADPAS, that's a system we use. Soldiers are very familiar with that. If we have an incident where we need to do accountability, that is how we do accountability, through our organizations, to include civilians. The other aspect of ADPAS is it also gives soldiers and families an opportunity to do a needs assessment, which is important, especially if we're evacuated and we don't have an opportunity to engage with our resources right here at Fort Stewart Hunter. You can go online when you get somewhere where there's power, go into the ADPAS system and complete a needs assessment, and then we can reach out to you virtually and connect you with the resources that you need and provide you with assistance that way. So that's very important to make sure you know how to get to ADPAS and that you keep your information updated.
All right, thank you guys. I know I learned a lot, and I'll definitely get my preparedness kit ready. I promise. I pinky promise. To stay up to date on Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield activities, please follow us on social media and download the My Army Post app. Thank you guys once again. It's been a pleasure. I'm Kelsey Stieber, and that concludes this episode of the Marne Report. See you next week.
The My Army Post app is your one-stop source for all things Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield. With map at your fingertips, you'll never miss out on upcoming events, installation updates, facility and gate information, weather, shopping, and so much more. My Army Post is free from your phone's app store. Download today.